We've returned from closed session, and it's time for the flag salute and the civility statement reading. Mr. King, would you lead us in flag salute, please?
Please stand up. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I will read the civility statement. When conducting the district's business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect of time for the time of others, listen objectively, carefully, considering the opinions of others, understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors, understand and respect district policies and procedures, and maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served in the past. With that said, can we introduce number 5, public comments, and I'm lost here for a second. Before we get to recognition and reports, we have a public speaker cards. Tracy Costan.
Yes,
Welcome.
thank you.
Welcome to our meeting. Please share with us what you have.
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is Tracy Costan. Quickly, I just wanted to say I observed a discrepancy in the final report card from the middle school that came home. I've been awaiting a response. Basically, I don't understand why the class ranks do not reflect the grades. I've always presumed Aries has the most current information. Therefore, for example, when awards are presented at the end of the year for, let's say, top 10, that should reflect on the final report card. But it didn't this time, and my concern is that since these transcripts are sent over to the high school, and they appear to be incorrect with the highest GPA at 4.0, that's the highest, I don't understand that. I don't understand if there's been a policy change mid-year with GPAs I'm not aware of, or if it's just a clerical error. But I'm hoping someone will address my concern and get back to me. I've been waiting for almost 2 weeks. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Tracy. Sounds to me like someone on staff owes you a phone call. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board on a non-agendized item?
I would. This is Jackie Ayer.
Jackie.
Yes, thank you. I don't know how to submit a comment card. I'm sorry.
You just did. Thank you. Ready, go.
I just wanted to let you know that the Acton Town Council submitted on Friday a pre-hearing conference statement to the California Public Utilities Commission, and we participated in a pre-hearing conference action on Monday, in which one of the items that we sought specifically and requested before the administrative law judge and the assigned commissioner was that the school, all the 3 schools in Acton, would be provided with standby power to maintain constant operation throughout any potential PSPS events going forward. And I just wanted to let the school district and the school board and all the parents who are participating to know that. And I also wanted to express my appreciation to Superintendent King for his email yesterday, I think it was Monday or the other day, indicating the school district's contentment with that request, that they are supporting that request and that they wouldn't oppose it. So I just want to express my appreciation and let the community know that's what this is going on, that this is what is going on, and it is our hope that we will not have any more school shutdowns from PSPS going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Could you do me a favor and Give us like a 2-sentence summary of that to Yolanda and copy whoever you want on it, and we'll capture the intent of what you're saying in the minutes.
Okay, tomorrow, is that all right?
I would appreciate that very much.
You said tomorrow.
Okay.
Of course. Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board on a non-agendized item? All right, hearing no one. If you missed something, and I understand the difficulties people have with technology here and things like that. So if we've missed you, we certainly want to hear from you and jump in. And there's a chat function here, correct? So yeah, let's keep an eye on the chat function. If we've missed someone, I certainly don't want anyone shut out here. So now we're going to move on to something I am very excited about. Volunteer of the Year, the Golden Apple recipient, Larry.
So I am very proud to announce, and I got my cell phone in front of me, so if for some reason you can't hear me through the mask, I'll be looking for a text message from a cabinet member if you're having trouble hearing me. The Golden Apple Award is going to Susie Ames. Susie began her service at the Acton Dulce Unified School District by joining Meadowlark PTO and working as the class parent. A dedicated attendee to PTO regular meetings, Susie was quick to volunteer to fundraise for events that benefit students of Meadowlark during the book fair and used book sale. She worked to promote the efforts of PTO through the Volunteer of the Year program. She headed a picture day, prepared food. She served in the offices of president and co-president for the Meadowlark PTO. During her years at Meadowlark, she developed and monitored the PTO budget. While at Meadowlark, she was an avid supporter of the Aadusd music program. At High Desert, she's a constant presence at all booster events, works hard to make sure fundraising efforts are successful while heading up the book fair at High Desert each year. Susie serves as the High Desert Boosters Secretary. In addition, she served in the past as the acting booster president. At Vasquez High School, she continues her service to the district through PTSO, where she participates in all events, fall festival, staff luncheon, honor roll luncheon, Night of the Stars, and serves as the PTSO to the secretary of the organization. She's always dedicated, engaged, organized, and responsive, always calm and humble. And it wasn't too long ago that I had commented to Susie in a conversation that her and I were having that she's what I like to call a silent leader. She's extremely strong, and the word humble here that parents used to describe her echoes with me as well. I'm very proud to give you this award, Susie Ames. If you were here, we'd present it in person to you, but I understand that hopefully there's something that you're able to receive this evening. And we have some flowers for you. There we go. Okay, good. You can see you with your flowers, and just wish you all the best.
Let's run down the row. Board members, do you have any comments for Susie?
This is Mike Fox. Thank you, and all the parents that volunteer with you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful summer.
Thank you.
Tim Jorgensen, volunteers at the schools. Volunteers at the school are absolutely essential. Your leadership and your continuing. It's just really exciting. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Hey Susie, this is Brandon Roque. I just want to say thank you so much. Like, your commitment and dedication to our district knows no bounds. Like, I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, people like you truly make our district great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's see, Kelly Jensen here. Thank you so much for all you do. Well deserved. I know you spend an incredible amount of time for our schools and for our students, and I appreciate you so much. And I'm really excited for you, and happy that you're getting this award tonight.
Thank you.
Sister Ames, this is Ken Falsgraf. I know there's another aspect of your life where you're equally efficient and giving, and thank you. that's really all I can say is thank you. There's nobody out there that's more deserving of this and less noisy. You offset my noisiness, so thank you. I'm very proud of you.
All right, I need to go answer my door, apparently.
There is a mob out there waiting to
Yes. I am going.
congratulate you.
Thank you.
We know nothing about any of that. I think there are horns blowing.
I was about to say, was there really a mob outside?
Congratulations, Susie.
Thank you. It is good to see you all in person. Thank you. Okay, look at you. Tracy wants some more. Oh, I'll send it to her. Okay. There you go.
We love you, Sarah. Thank you so much.
Iceland, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Those are the largest weeds I have ever seen. Scott, how are you this evening?
Drain them and then.
The green screen.
Hey, thanks. I'm just on the right.
Scott said he's doing well. Alrighty, bye guys.
That was tricky. All right, so in the same light of things, immediate past President Fox, would you do me the honor of introducing this year's representative to the board?
Sure. This year's representative to the board is somebody that means quite a bit to me. I'm very proud of her academic career and her career as a fellow student and a citizen here in Acton for the last 18 years. It's my daughter, Carolyn Fox. Come on up, Carolyn. And the camera, just look at the. Oh.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I don't have a report this week, just thank you to everyone who did all they could for us and the students to have the best year we could have. So thank you.
Larry, would you have something to say? Look at all that.
Hello, Caroline. I saw in there that it's hard to hear me, so I'm going to try something. I'll just move the mic a little closer. Apparently Mr. Falsgraf has better enunciation than I do. So hopefully you can hear me now.
I can.
Okay, good. So Carolyn, I just want to share a couple things with you. First of all, you're extremely courteous, respectful, and accustomed to having many responsibilities both inside and outside of school. I remember when I first met you, and you probably don't remember that, but you were at Quartz Hill High School for a tennis tournament 3 years ago, and I saw your dad sitting in a lawn chair out there, and just getting to know him better, and then he introduced me to you, and you've only continued to hone your tennis skills since that time. You've done all the right things to prepare yourself to make a significant contribution at Westminster College in Wilmington, Pennsylvania. And we wish you all the best there. We know you're going to make us proud. You work extremely hard, and you certainly understand the relationship between effort, success, and failure. You understand through experience that wins aren't always measured in terms of 15, 30, 45, and 60. So we wish you all the best. Don't forget us in your small town here. We're here for you if you ever need anything. And
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for the wonderful service. Great job.
Thank you.
Board members.
I've already made my comments, thank you.
Carolyn, truly, thank you so much for everything you've done for the board. Obviously, I haven't been on the board all that long, but just the reports you gave, everything that we were able to experience with the schools through you, I can't thank you enough. It was truly amazing to see everything that was going on and feel more connected to the students. You truly did a great job, and I wish you all the best in college.
Thank you.
Well, Carolyn, man, you've grown a lot over the 4 years. Congratulations on everything that you've accomplished, your academics, your will and your design, your athletics. It's always been fun to watch you mature and grow throughout the years. You're going back east, you got to the Jack, can be called. Congratulations and all that.
Thank you.
It's my turn, right? Are you?
Yes.
Carolyn.
Yeah, no,
Thank you so much for all you've done. You're very level-headed and articulate. It's just been a pleasure working with you. You've brought us great reports, and you've been well prepared. We look forward to hearing all about what you're doing in college next year, and I'm sure we'll get some great reports from your dad. So best of luck to you, and just have a great time in school and very unique circumstances, but I know you'll do well. You just go with the flow. So best of luck to you, and thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Carolyn, I've sat up here and watched a few people go through, and the times I've attended the board meeting or actually sat up here and watched different students. So I think your legacy to the board, the message that you sent out was you just didn't report out on Vasquez, you report out on all 3 sites. And we're a unified school district, we're not a divided school district, so I think that you gave would minimize. So that's your legacy, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
This is one time with this COVID thing. I'm not a fan of people, and most of them aren't a fan of me, but this is a part where I really like to have people in the room, and I was robbed of 2 cupcakes this evening already, so. I believe we are now on to comments. AATA representative. Do we have anything from the AATA representative?
Good evening. This is Melissa Trussell, president of the AATA, or ADA, Acton Optical State Teachers Association. I don't have any public comments really, but I do want to just wish everybody a safe and healthy summer, and hopefully we get back to school soon.
Thank you very much. Moving on, CSEA representative. Hearing nothing, we've already heard from Carolyn Fox, the student representative of the board. Superintendent King, your gold standard report, please.
Sure, thank you. I got a couple of things. I'm going to keep it relatively short because I know we have a pretty packed agenda this evening. I'm going to reserve most of my comments for items that are already on the agenda. Thank you to all of our administrators, teachers, and classified staff for getting us through an unprecedented time in 2019, 2020. These last several months, you've all done a tremendous job of stepping up. I've seen unbelievable collaboration, putting critical thinking skills to use, just like we ask our students to develop instructional models and strategies for our students despite the obstacles and challenges that were placed in front of us. Thank you all for just doing a tremendous job for our students. And for those of you that work throughout the summer because you're year-round employees, please be sure to take some time for yourself when you can, and you need to rejuvenate and get some rest and find some peace in your lives in this challenging time. And for those of you that are 10 or 11-month employees or school year employees, again, please take the time for yourself to enjoy family, friends, rest, relax, and be safe. The last piece I just want to comment on is the budget. On June 22nd, the governor and the state legislature reached agreement on the state budget. There will be no COLA for the upcoming school year. Districts throughout the state are struggling with the budget as they're being asked to do more with less. We've taken a very conservative approach with our fiduciary and budget responsibilities, and we are prepared for that impact. And I want to thank staff for working collaboratively on that to that extent possible as well. Again, everybody, wish you well over the summer. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, then, we will move along. Are there submissions?
I do not believe we have any submissions this evening. No.
All right, then we will be pleased to hear from our board members now. Past President Fox.
Thank you very much for all the folks out there. I can't, my sentiments mirror those of Superintendent King, so I won't repeat them. I just encourage everybody to do your best to stay healthy. Enjoy your summer. I had a family member get very sick with this, so stay healthy, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and we'll be back at it next fall. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Mike. Brandon.
First, I just want to say another congratulations to all the students that graduated, everyone that completed their year. It was a very trying year, to say the very least, but everyone made it through it. Everyone did such a great job. I can't wait for things to hopefully get back to normal next year and see everyone back in classes, everything going back sort of to normal. Beyond that, I just want to thank everyone, all the teachers, students, faculty, our community for everything throughout this year. It was definitely, I can say, an unforgettable year, but I wouldn't trade for anything. It was awesome to see our community come together and to see what our students were capable of. I hope everyone has a safe and healthy summer, and I look forward to seeing you guys in a couple months.
Mr. Jorgensen.
Everybody's catching on and doing the things. I'm not going to say what's already been said other than the fact that congratulations to all the students, and looking forward to our high desert 8th grade Hawks to come over and be Mustangs. The staff has done a great job from the district office all the way down to our classified and all of the work in between. A second round of congratulations to Susie Ames for your hard work. We look forward to more work for you and your volunteering in the future. And then Carolyn, all the best as you move on to college with your seniors, and stay in touch. You're going to be a great representative for a small community. Thank you. So everybody stay well and be safe.
Vice President Jensen.
Just wishing everyone a healthy and relaxing summer. It's definitely been a crazy year, and we still waiting to see what next year is going to look like, and just know that we're all in this together, and we're going to work really hard to give our students the best education possible, and that's what we're here for. And we just appreciate all of our families and all of our staff and teachers and everyone that's been working really hard this year under these definite different type of situation that no one really could prepare for. So I just want to give a shout out to all of our parents and our staff and students for everything that they've done and working really hard this year. So a well-deserved vacation and a break from all of this, and we'll be back at it in the fall, and we'll be ready for our kids, whatever that looks like. So thanks to everyone. And Carolyn, have a great summer, and thanks again, and thanks again to Susie Ames for everything that she's done, and all of our volunteers that we have. We just have such a great community, and that's all I have this evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Callie. You all notice that I have pulled up the cowboy bandana tonight. No, your prayers to have me cover my face have not been answered. You can thank the California Department of Public Health, namely at the request of Governor Gavin Newsom, like him or not, Sonia Y. Angel, State Public Health Officer and Director, like that person or not, June 18th, 2020, like it or not, guidance for use of facial coverings in public areas, and it goes on for pages, but the most important part is when you're engaged in work, whether at the workplace or performing work off-site, you're interacting in person with any member of the public or working in any space that are visited by members of the public, and I do believe that means a public school administration office. So I hate these things, but we're not going to be playing cowboy out here. I think the dirt bike thing was probably as far as you want to go with that. But I'm going to ask that this be posted on the district website so everybody has a link and is very clear as to what at least the governor and the state public health officer and director would like us to do. That said, I've been going on and on for the past few weeks in my board member comments, so I appreciate everyone's patience. So tonight we're going to finish this up. I think my fellow board members eloquently thanked everyone and wished everyone a good summer and a good future. I do want to report out that it's going to be time for me to have a phone call with the high-speed rail consultants that I've been talking about for the past few meetings. I want everyone to know, as a matter of concern for me, is apparently the route is going to change. It's going to move somewhere over the vicinity of high desert. It's going to be underground. And I know from my drilling rig days in the oil fields and different places I've been, that when you dig for things, there's something comes out called tailings. And those tailings are usually hauled off by trucks. And I haven't been pleased in my conversations with the Acton Town Council and going to the meetings and hearing people complain that half of Inglewood, where the stadium is being built, is showing up in Acton. So apparently we don't have a good custody chain on the dirt that's moving all over. And I don't know what's under the ground, whatever depth they're coming from. I do know that they find gold and other lead and other minerals around here. I'm not sure I want that airborne going down Crown Valley with trucks that are not covered and without air monitoring and all that kind of thing. So even at my arbitrary level, I have some questions here. I am going to ask that the person that I know that understands most about that type of thing, air quality and stuff, Jackie Air, join me in on that phone call. And short of anybody having a big heartburn, there's no action to be taken. It's just they're going to try and tell us what to do. And I'm going to relate on the record my concern about how tailings coming out of the ground. I do believe that that stuff is 300 feet under the ground for a reason. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not up here for us to breathe. And I certainly don't want the students at our school and the public breathe it as it flows down the road to some destination unknown. So that concludes my comments, and Jackie, I'll reach out to you. I'm going to circle back one more time. Board, are you okay?
This is Mike, no comment, fine.
This is Brandon, I'm good on my end.
Okay, we're good. Let's move on. We are going to be moving to item 8, the consent agenda. The consent agenda this evening. First, let's move it in.
This is Mike, I'll move it in.
This is Brandon, I'll second.
Call the question. Wait a minute. So I'm getting out of line here. So here is what will be on tonight's consent agenda. As I go through these board members, if you feel that you need to pull something out, have questions or want to discuss them, please do that. We have the minutes of the virtual board meeting, the last board meeting for June 11th, 2020. We have the warrant register. We have the personnel action report. We have a declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2021 school year. We have a summer maintenance project list. Again, all these other things were posted on the public agenda on Monday earlier in the week. We have a resolution to authorization to teach outside credentials, which is basically some of the robotics classes and things like that that we have, that we offer our students. Authorization to teach outside credential, a salary schedule related to a position, a quote for a Santa fogger high volume ULB foggers from Pony LLC, which is a sanitizing piece of scrap apparatus. Brandon University internship contract agreement, a positive behavioral interventions and support, or PBIS, consulting and training services, a contract for presence learning for extended school year, ESY, nutritional services, a meal price increase,
And the second presence learning for the school year.
in the what?
Second presence learning, M&N.
Yeah, I'm kind of, we missed something. I must have missed a page here. One more time, just bear with me, I just want to make sure that so we have presence learning, contract for presence learning for ESY, extended school year. A contract for presence learning for 2020-21 school year. And then the nutritional services item. Okay. And I can get my fingers to work. That should be it. Board members, is there anything that you wish to pull off of there for discussion or that you have questions about?
Mike, no, I'm okay.
Just Brandon, I got nothing.
Tim, I have a question on D and G.
D and G.
G like in go.
Go ahead, Tim.
On the personnel action report for D, pull it up here real quick. I see on the top one there that you're recommending a certificated employee for physical education. Does that not have to be physical education / health?
Ms. Shaw, if you are out there, can you please speak to the health piece of the equation?
I'm here.
Thanks. Can you speak to the health piece of the equation for the physical education movement of Mr. Tarazi to the high school?
Yeah, he is listed on one of those authorized to teach outside the credential for health.
Right. On the personnel action report, it just says PE. Do we have to state PE / health?
No.
Okay. All right, then the other question I have was on G, which was the authorization to teach outside. And that one there, it's listing Mr. Tarazi to teach outside credential and teaching health. Sometime back, we talked about upgrading our health textbooks and certificate and the teacher's edition. Do we have an update on that?
No, I'm not aware of that. I can follow up with you though.
Because here's my concern is if we have a teacher going in to teach a subject that's outside credential with books like we talked about that we need to upgrade. I would really like it if he had the tools so he could be the best that he can be in that classroom, particularly now. Health is even more of a concern about all of the terms, the definitions, mitigation, vector spread, all the things that have to do with health that decisions are made. He needs to have all the tools, and having books that are as old as they are, and we talked about this before, and not having an up-to-date teacher's edition so that can facilitate his efficient teaching in that, health is extremely important.
Understood. I'll work with Mr. Brockway and we can check into what's out there and get him what he needs to be able to teach health.
We've had some discussions about McGraw-Hill, the same one that we had last time. We just need the new version rather than the 10-year-old version. And it's always been getting kicked down the road because there's been something else that's been more important. Right now we're in this special circumstance that pushes it back up the ladder in my thinking that now we need to make sure that staff member is going to be armed and have prepared to be able to do, because he's going to have a lot of work to do. He needs to be able to have the tools to get that done.
Agreed.
That's all I have is on those two. Thank you.
Kelly, do you have anything you want to pull?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Superintendent King, with regard to Board Member Jorgensen's comments, I think there is some, probably at least a cursory review of the textbook, whether it's a curriculum upgrade and whether or not this needs to be put back on the future agenda items report. That would probably be my recommendation. Tim, hang out till the end there and make sure that if that's what you want to have happen, ask for the board to throw that on there. I understand Tim just wants to practically have someone that's able to have the right material in front of him. I just want to make sure that our process on this is doesn't require the board to introduce a new curriculum. So
Perfect.
I understand the spirit of Tim's request. So that said, nothing else to pull up the consent agenda. Call to question.
Mike, aye.
Brandon, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Board members 4-0. Board president, aye. 5-0. Consent agenda passes. Get through this here. Educational services. Item A, reopening schools for the 2021 school year. Do I have a motion to open the presentation? Do you have a comment, Larry?
Yeah, I'll introduce it.
Okay.
Sure. So what we would like to do here for the board is do two presentations in consideration for the reopening of the school year. The first one is Kim Shaw is going to facilitate a presentation that's been well prepared in a very short amount of time regarding a strategy for instructional delivery. This particular strategy, you've heard me mention the name John Grippo several times, and I think he's online, but I'm not positive.
Okay, I may have something confused, so sorry to interrupt. I've dropped the ball here. I'm going to make a motion to open the presentation. Do I have a second?
I'll second Ken. This is Kelly.
Go ahead.
Okay, and so, John, can you just give us a wave or a hello if you're out there?
Hello, I'm here.
Thank you. So I've been talking about you, John, behind your back with the board, and for quite some time now. And as you recall, you were supposed to come out at the beginning of April and work with our staff and go into classrooms and model some EDGE protocols. And we were going to do some dynamic stuff with cabinet and some dynamic things. It was going to be a great day. Unfortunately, we entered into the COVID-19 mode, and I appreciate your sentiments at the time, putting health and safety first, and we decided to go a different route, and you quickly put together a cadre of staff that you're familiar with, brought them to our staff, and I know you've been working together diligently for the past week I'm so thankful for you and your crew, and I would like to say to the board that this is not the end, but rather a beginning. And so when you look at this presentation, I've been very clear that I did not want this to be some sort of just glitter or glitzy sort of show for the board. I wanted it to be authentic and a true status of where the group is at, and I've purposely kind of stepped back and let you all do your thing, and I look forward to the presentation this evening. Following that presentation, we'll have Ms. David do a presentation regarding the health and safety protocols for reopening our schools in August as well. So I will turn it over to Ms. Shaw. And again, Mr. Krupa's background is strongly in curriculum, technology, not just technology, but the implementation of technology as a strategic tool in the classroom to engage students in meaningful learning, strongly aligned with the Common Core state standards. And I appreciate your background and what you bring to the table, John, and so I will turn it over to the team.
All right. Good evening, President Falstaff and fellow board members. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to present to you this evening. These instructional strategies, the EDGE protocols, that can be used in any instructional model that we end up choosing for the fall. I just want to tell you briefly that there were 16 teachers, 3 site administrators, and 2 district office administrators that were on our team. All 3 sites were represented and special education department were represented. Before we really get started, I want to hand it over to John real quick because he's going to do a real quick introduction before we pass it on to our teachers to show you all these great things that they created in 5 days and an hour each day. So in 5 hours this was done. So John, can you share with us?
First of all, I just want to make sure that I'm ready to mute in case people are bringing me cupcakes and they're gathering at my door right now. I want to be ready for that. So if you can give me a heads up when that part happens, I'm super excited. Secondly, I work for an educational nonprofit called Q. We've been around since 1978, and our specialty is helping teachers teach better with what they already have. So one of the hallmarks of what you guys on the board are going to see here is that we're not talking about buying products. These are all things that you've already got. I heard the discussion on the health curriculum. This isn't a lead into a curriculum. We don't sell binders. We don't sell textbooks. We don't sell anything. We come alongside and help teachers do their job more effectively with technology that you guys already own. And I think you're going to be really impressed with what you see. The big goal for this project was to provide a model that will work just as effectively if you're in a hybrid situation, if you're all at home, or if you're face-to-face next year. These strategies are gonna be useful across the board and for the long term. And like Larry said, we worked with a small core of teachers, and we brought in 4 teachers from outside, from all over the state. One was from LA, we've got one from Paris, we've got one from Fairfield, and we've got one from Placentia, Yorba Linda, that are all experts in their grade range. And they shared some of their best online teaching techniques with your folks who were very, very positive and very, very excited to integrate some of these new things to some of their best practices. So that's my nutshell version, Kim, and I'll give it back over to you.
Alrighty, thank you very much. And our first presenter this evening, we have Nicole Chun, who is going to share with us what our TK4 group worked on.
Next slide, please. Good, and the next slide, there we go, yeah. Good evening, everyone. Our TK4 team was comprised of Sandra Hamilton from kindergarten, Candice Palacios first grade, Michelle Fernandez from second grade, Haley Marafa from third grade, Kathleen Huff from third grade, and myself, Chun, from fourth grade, as well as Tessalia, our site principal. And then our team was supported primarily by Megan Cannon Johan, and she really helped us out a lot. And then with Ray Dunn coming in and bringing some goodness there too. Next slide, please. So speaking for myself and our team, one of the beauties of EDGE protocols is, already been stated, is that it's really just good teaching practices that are research supported and can work with any subject, any grade level. And something that I really love about implementing them personally is that they really do create student-centered practices in your class, as well as they work really beautifully with universal design for learning, and I've really seen a positive impact on student confidence and class culture. But when you look at TK through 4, you're thinking about like this huge range of ages and just difference in needs. I mean, we grow so much between the ages of 5 and 9, 10. So because of that, we did break off into 2 groups and generated 2 different models. So the first being the primary one, if you would do the next slide for me, please. We developed a morning warm-up, a routine that could be replicated and used by any of those grade levels with daily practice of multiple standards. So we created a math rep routine that was a number of the day, as well as some CGI math ideas where they would be building math stories with different operations. We added a 8 parts, little parts protocol where students were going to start developing their writing and their grammar, as well as utilizing a Frayer model to teach sight words. And then with our 3 through 4 model, next slide please. We started drafting this weekly plan where we would integrate all of the tools that we could use, whether we were distance, seat-based, or some kind of combination in between, with a variety of the protocols that the teachers then could insert their content into. And if you look, you'll see that there's a Frayer model, but this time it's for Greek and Latin roots. So you see how there's that, regardless of iteration, there's this whole progression that you just continually build protocols. And the beauty and power of that is that lowers the cognitive load and students can focus on the content rather than just focusing on the task at hand, because the task is familiar for them. So if students have been using a Frayer all year long with you, or even, ideally all the years preceding before they even got to you, they're going to commit that content to long-term memory much more easily because of the familiarity of that task. And we also have a math rep and a 8 parts protocol that are scaled to meet our 3rd and 4th graders' needs. And if you look at the center bottom, you'll see 2 nearly identical place value math reps. One is scaled for starting 3rd grade and one is scaled for starting 4th grade. And it shows really the versatility of a single iteration, and how a teacher could, even within their own classroom, scaffold and suit and meet the needs of all of the learners and diverse learners in their classroom. Okay, next slide, please. I always love doing presentations when I can't control my own slides. And so this is our final slide, and I just wanted to reiterate and show how you have a math rep, and math rep can be functional and powerful in TK, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, all the way up. It's just a matter of how you adjust your content, and some of the parts of the task change, but the ultimate framework stays the same. And next slide, and I will hand it off to Marilyn Alford, who is going to share what the 518.
Thank you, Nicole, for setting that up so well for me to jump in, and hopefully the board will start to see a pattern of these EDU protocols as we share them on through middle school. So let me introduce my team. This is the middle school. We are 5 through 8 model, and we had Melissa Troussel, 5th grade, Ted Palm, 5th grade, Joan Millar, 6th grade, Michelle Van Ornum, 7th and 8th grade, and myself, Marilyn Alford, 7th and 8th grade, and then David Kubila, our principal, that was on our team. And so we really only had one person that had regularly used the EDU protocols on the team, and that was Michelle Van Ornum. So thankfully she was able to assist all the groups in really supporting us. And Nicole had done a PD when we were still in school, introducing EDU protocols to us. And so I had just a glimpse of it, was really excited to be on the team, and then Michelle really helped to put things into place. So let's go to the next slide. Okay, so because I am science and we like to start with really understanding lab safety so that we can get in to do hands-on learning, whether we are at home or actually in the classroom in the science lab, it's all about safety. And so you see here that this is another model that is represented for the week. And it's really important whether we're in distance learning or whether we are just in the classroom, the parents and the students, as well as our administrators, need to be able to have that week at a glance to know, well, what are we doing and how can we get that information out to the students quickly, and where do the students go? So we want to make it something that's functional and that we're able to use whether we're in the classroom or in a distance learning type model. So students will see what they have to do each day, and it's all geared around applications of lab safety. The goal is to have consistency, certainly, again, to lower the student cognitive load and just be able to let them understand that they have a job to do. The beauty about protocols too is that it allows teachers to take models that were provided to us by John and that wonderful team. We had Kim Vogel and Ray Dunn that assisted us throughout, as well as John, to put this together. And we're using a lot of their models and things that they've done, and then just applying our content. And it sounds like it would be something to just easy copy and paste, but it was really, really time consuming. And so what we are saying was a 5-hour type of model over the course of 5 days was really more like 12 hours because we were still just learning it all. And so you'll see a bill on that. Anyway, back to my other things for what students are going to get. So teachers are given this, and it allows us to give students feedback right away. Almost immediately, it takes the time of grading down because we are able to have everything in one spot. And so here you see that there's a drag and drop that's based on identifying lab safety. You see that there's a problem solution activity. The sketch and tell, again, is one that's used with vocabulary. So students are really having to express themselves through drawing and then being able to tell about it and write about it, and then another Frayer model on lab safety. So as they are starting to learn these protocols in elementary school, they're going to be able to take them into middle school, and so that's our ideal, is to have this consistency since we are pre-K through 12 model. And we're going to be able to do this across the board through all of the grade levels. If you'll go to the next slide. Here you see one that Michelle and I were working on, and this is actually for 7th and 8th grade. And this model shows for math. And so the students have a choice board. And it isn't just about, like Larry was saying, having something pretty to look at, but it makes it inviting for the students to be able to see, okay, I get to choose what I want to do. So a lot of it is giving the students access to
student desk and a student chair. So we cannot fit more than 20 desks in and maintain the physical distancing. If we put 30 in, we go down to 4 feet between desks. So that's why that is a tentative option. Symptom checking daily, we still would need to decide if we're going to do that at home or have the staff do it at school. Most businesses and schools are looking at opting for doing it at home. Face masks are required, as Mr. Falsgraf noted. That is not a district decision, that is by executive order. Hand washing or sanitizing would occur throughout the day. They recommend soap and water whenever possible, but if soap and water is not possible, then we will have plenty of sanitizer in all areas for children to use. They would sanitize as they enter a room or exit a room or area. Sanitizing of classrooms and offices whenever they've been occupied by staff or students. And then bus transportation would need to be modified to also maintain the physical distancing. So we're working with transportation on staff. If we can move down to breaks and lunch, we'll see how that looks using the protocols. Okay, again, we are in phase 3, so we'll focus on that. You can look and see what we would have done. Schools were closed, and so we really didn't do anything. But looking at phase 3 as a potential way to come back to school, breaks and lunch would be staggered so that we can maintain the physical distancing. Some schools have sufficient space and lunch tables that students could be spread out and still maintain cleaning in between meal sessions so that students don't ever sit where another student sat until it's been actually sanitized. Physical distancing during the breaks and lunch, and so it would depend on each school site whether we have them in the classrooms and have staff there to make sure that our teaching staff does have the ability to take their breaks as well, and then modified outdoor play to make sure that students are safe when they're playing as well. Moving down to assemblies and performances, please. Okay, assemblies and performances, those would at all the schools be able to resume as long as the crowd size allowed for the physical distancing. Again, as before, because we are in a group, we would need to wear masks during that time, but the physical distancing would allow us to, probably doing staggering, begin some of our assemblies and performances again. Athletics, I know, is of a big concern. This one is a little bit different depending on the grade level. Again, what drives our decisions is the requirement for having physical distancing. So at the elementary school, there would be PE allowable as long as physical distancing can be maintained. At the middle school, again, we can begin having sports that would maintain physical distancing. And then, and some of those would include physical conditioning as well. When we worked with the County Office of Education and went through the protocols, we can do certain sports as long as they're individual and maintain the distancing. And again, at the high school, we would also begin to do some athletics again. Physical conditioning is allowable, and CIF has a bulletin out that gives guidance as far as some of the precautions. Again, what they're saying at this point is physical conditioning or sports that would be able to be done independently, such as track and field, possibly tennis, possibly swimming, and some of those things. At this point, we would not be allowed to do any that include an exchange of athletic equipment from one student to another because they can't be cleaned. Activities can return as well, maintaining physical distancing. At the elementary school, that would be pretty much the general activities they do throughout the day, maybe assemblies and things like that. Perhaps some special activities at the middle school. Outdoor science school would be permitted as long as an outdoor science school can come up with a model that would allow the physical distancing as well. And then some of the activities such as dances, as long as physical distancing would be allowed. At the high school, same thing. They have pep rallies and such. Those would be allowed as long as the safety precautions are followed with physical distancing and masks. And then moving down to our last section, as far as operations, are volunteers. We do like to have our volunteers participate. As always, they are pre-screened using our fingerprint system and our list of approved volunteers. They would have to verify that they're symptom-free, and they would be working in cohorts so that they work at the same time as any students that come in, so that we're keeping cohorts together in case there were an episode of COVID-19. When we go all the way to the far right, that would be phase 4, and all restrictions are removed. If there were outbreaks and we had an order by executive order or the Department of Public Health, we would move back into phase 2, but I'll just leave it that people can look at that because we're hoping that we'll continue to move forward with phase 3. And I can answer any questions if there are any.
Board members.
This is Mike. I appreciate the work that's gone into this. I've been wondering, what things might look like. And it's very dynamic, but this is the first I've seen anything, pen put to paper. And what does it mean to be doing physical distancing in the context of all the different things that we do at the school? And I can see that, and I can see what it might look like. I appreciate that very much, the effort that's put into it. I'm feeling like it's going to be a while before we get to phase 4. So, based on everything you hear in the news, so I'm glad at least we're fleshing out what phase 3 might look like. Thank you.
Any other board members?
Lynn, thank you for presenting this. It's awesome to actually get a rough idea of how we're going to plan on this moving forward. I did just want to bring up, I know in the comment section, a couple people have asked if there was a possibility to get copies of this, just a heads up.
Certainly, as usual, we don't like to present anything that the board hasn't seen. And so as soon as we review it, we'll make it available, I believe.
Outstanding. Thank you, Lynn. And this is fantastic.
With trustee approval, of course.
I have a couple of questions. I'm looking at phase 3. Going down the listing there, we're making general statements like physical distancing. Classroom, how are when students move from one place to the next, what's the plan for keeping social distancing? Are we going to have staff out in the quad, or are we going to just hope and pray that they're going to stay distanced, or what?
So one of the things that we have modified paths of travel, we had our risk manager come out and work with myself and Mr. Mora the other, I think it was a couple days ago at any rate. So we're looking at modifying paths of travel so everyone is going in one direction. We will, of course, work with staff. We can utilize our instructional assistants that are there and our teaching staff as students exit the door. I would imagine that the same as when we instituted a new pickup and drop off at the middle school. Part of what we did was give some explicit direction and guidance on how we do our new procedures. So that would be a piece of it. We will be marking directions with either tape or a more permanent way to help students move in the right direction. One other thing that I did not put on here necessarily is in some of our offices, we will be putting up plexiglass, the same as if you go to a doctor's office or the store.
Moving down the line, hand washing and sanitizing. Now, I know at Meadowlark and High Desert, the hand washing, they're provided with paper towels, which to me is an efficient encouragement. Wash your hands, wipe your hands, throw it away so we can get rid of it. At the high school, we've done that hybrid where we do air, which is, in all intents and purposes, it doesn't get the hands dry, so they're not going to wash their hands. So we do need to consider, well, we need to encourage them to wash their hands, dry their hands. We may have to temporarily add, and I brought this up a while back, about considering putting in paper towels for the students and the staff to, I know they're in the staff rooms they have paper, but in some of in the offices, but the air dryers, they take so long, people are going to do it, they're going to be congregating, so we want to be able to keep them moving, so I want to bring that up. The sanitizing rooms, this is where that Sandy thing that we approved, they're going to go in. So at the beginning of every day, all of the classrooms, after students have left, have been sanitized, yes?
It's actually the end of the day, our custodians will be using them, and so the fogger works, it disperses the sanitizing fluid more easily, and then they wipe down the furniture in the room and high-touch items, yes.
And at that point, we say, well, we have a sanitized room ready for introduction on the next business day when the kids come back.
Yes.
To me, there needs to be some focus, and this is mainly with the staff, is that, okay, that room, don't compromise that room by going in there. Take everything with you. So when you leave and they come in and sanitize, we stay out of it until the next day. We don't want to compromise that sanitation. And it's a challenging circumstance, but to me, it's something that I can't see the rest of it on the slide, but I wrote my notes. When it comes to, have you gotten from, I'm now shifting gears to High Desert and to the high school when it comes to athletics and physical activity, TIF have they provided us with which sports we can, our fall, winter, spring? I know they say, I've heard that they want to have all of them, but have you gotten protocols on which of those sports and how we can offer those sports safely to our students?
The guidance that we got from that document as well as from LACO, and again, things change quickly, daily, but as the most recent information that we have, the way they phrased it is the sports that would naturally be separating students, for example, running sports, probably not something where they're passing a baton, but cross country. They seem to indicate that tennis would be okay because you typically aren't passing a ball directly from one student to another. And they said that conditioning for all sports is okay as long as the students can be in cohorts and can maintain 6 feet apart. They said most likely team sports, at least at this time, unless things change, are not going to be okay until we move to another phase.
So we're going to be really communicating to, and we're not going to be the only one, it's every school is going to be confronted with the same challenges, that cross country in the fall is a running sport. Soccer, I would imagine, is out because it has contact with a football, with a soccer ball. Baseball, everybody has contact with cross country, track, and swimming. Maybe tennis, yeah, but because they get fresh tennis balls, we're not exchanging anything. So hands off to you for congratulate you on working hard on this. There's a lot to be done that's going to be happening, because I know there's going to be a lot of individuals that say, well, what am I conditioning for if I'm not going to be able to play? Well, we need to make sure we have a communication that it's in the interest of the student safety, that the coaching and all of the individuals and staff that are supervising these sports are well aware, and the parents of participating student athletes understand that we have protocols that we have to abide by, and we'll do everything we can to introduce them when it is safe.
Agreed. And also, to your point, this is really a framework. The specific details of it will be working with each of the staff on the training. For example, the hand washing and sanitizing, we're working with principals and they'll be working with teachers to make sure that we can put specific practices in place that are system-wide, that are practicable in the day. We don't want to put something in place that's impossible for people to do.
This is one of the advantages of being a small district, where we're small and we have the same restrictions as everybody else, but we have the ability to be a little bit flexible when we have hands-on staff and everybody working for the betterment and the safety of our students. Thanks for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting this together. I think it will start letting everybody know what it will actually look like. I know that there's a lot of questions in the chat that we can begin to address when the time comes, and like you said, when you can open this to the public so that they can see it. And I know there's a lot of questions that our parents are going to have. Those will be answered as time goes. As you know, we have good time. We have guidelines that we have to follow, and then we have to put these plans together. So it takes some time. So I just like to thank all of our parents and everyone for being patient as we're working through all these things. But thanks for doing this, because I think when we have a chart like this, it will kind of helps everybody have a better understanding about what it will look like. So thank you for that. And if we could just scroll down a little bit so everybody can see the actual plan. It's really hard for people when they can't see. If we could just look at the break rooms and go down to that second page so everybody can get a chance to see what that looks like. So thanks for that. I know it's hard when we're zooming into a meeting. But thanks, Lynn, for doing that and putting this together. It really helps everybody have a better understanding of what it might look like. So thanks for putting that together. I know it was a lot of work. And I know that, you know, you're getting the information as fast as you're getting it. It all changes. I don't think if people realize that we're getting things from the county all the time and we're getting these little updates all the time as well. So thanks for being flexible and getting that together for us. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I did, by the way, see a question about the masks in the chat box and the asterisk. I think probably something that'll help clarify is, I know that Mr. Falsgraf mentioned, I think the executive order that will be shared publicly. So that's really what that refers to, is we get guidance with respect to the masks. We will follow whatever the executive order and public health directive is.
And there was a question about the asterisk. If you could scroll down, that you did address that in the chart as well, I believe.
Yes.
And that is there. We do have special ed students and others, so there that is there as well, because that was one of the questions. So thanks.
Is that it, Kelly?
That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Lynn, I appreciate your command of the topic, and I'm so glad that we align facilities directly with finance. That gives us a, I will say you were a buzzkill to the educational thing, but this is equally important. I want to tell you that I work in an environment where you physically walk in the door as an employee, your temperature is scanned, you immediately fill out an electronic form that's sent off to risk management every morning. It's cross-referenced against attendance rolls. If any symptom comes up, you're immediately handed over to HR, and then your privacy is protected. Managing employees is one thing, but expecting that employees will just suddenly become responsible for the mass of the public who may agree with these things or not agree with these things, or choose to make a personal statement of whether they comply or not. I'm not interested in having our teachers who are there to teach become COVID tag checkers and the equivalent of whether you have the tag on your mattress today. As a government employee, it's kind of funny. There's a saying that says if you never make a decision in government service, you'll never be fired. And rather than say, I think that it's going to be a while, I don't think that this is going to work. Sometimes agencies pile on these things and say, you can do this if you can run a 3-minute mile and roll a 7 and use a hula hoop. And I think some of this stuff kind of points to that, where it's, can you really, really do these things and expect that they're going to work, and again, not put our teachers in the role of being nurse police. I think that there's a lot of things to talk about in terms of what the educational delivery system looks like, what's going to work best in our community for this, and I think that's to be discussed in the next agenda item, gold standard instructional delivery models. I don't think that are arbitrarily me waving a document for compliance around and then having a couple of ideas are a good way to tell.
Those will actually be deferred until late in the year. So what that means, that's not a budget issue, that's a cash issue, but it does speak to the reason that it's important to have the reserve.
Yes.
They're managing it through juggling the money.
But yes, but also though, if the state's economic conditions don't improve fast enough, I mean, certainly in the Great Recession when we saw cuts, huge cuts, I was here on the board. So the fact that they're managing it and we're not seeing cuts, just elimination of COLA, is wonderful for this year. I'm just asking, our assumption is that there won't be any cuts next year, regardless of what happens with the economy. Is that true? That's your assumption, that there won't be any cuts next year in your budget projections?
In this projection, I have not included any cuts at this point. It will be to be seen.
Right. So I guess my point out there is, because that's what I figured you did. You can't predict the future. Nobody can. But maybe we dodged a bullet this year. It's important that we have healthy reserves because we just don't know what will happen in coming year, depending on the rate at which tax revenue to the state rebounds. And so my point is that's another good reason to have healthy reserves, not to mention the fact that it is diminishing.
Yes, that's absolutely true, and we will have a much better picture of what the true budget will look like. One of the things that happened because of COVID-19 is that people did not have to file their income taxes until July 15th. So the state doesn't actually know how much it's going to get in income taxes, and that's one of the top 3 ways that we get state funding. So we'll have a better idea in August of what our budget will really look like.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, or shall we go to the next slide? Okay, next slide. Okay, as I noted, there are other funds. At the top of this in the gray area is what those funds are used for. So we have a cafeteria fund, deferred maintenance, which is the funding that is used for large projects that are typically cyclical, such as roofs, playground resurfacing, things like that. A reserve that would be something that the board wants us to save for, and we would move funds from the general fund over to the reserve, not capital. Capital facilities, estate grant facilities, that's almost completely expended because of the we've completed the high school, and then a reserve for capital projects. So if you look along where it says ending balance, that is the amount that we expect to have at the end of next year, after including any expenditures for each of those programs. Something that's notable is in the light yellow, it says maximum available for interfund borrowing. That's going to be very important next year with those deferrals. Our expenditures each month range between $1.3 and $1.7 million for payroll and operations. And if we are getting almost $1.6 million put off until other months by the state, we will get it, but later. That means we need to borrow from ourselves. So it's important that we have these funds available. So in summary, the good news is we are able to have a positive certification because we're able to maintain a 4% reserve or higher, and that is the standard for our district for both the current year and 2 future years. Although we had a decrease in revenue, we actually are still able to maintain our budget with no deficit spending. As I noted, the delay in tax filings make significant changes to our state budget very probable. We will know better in August, and we'll be bringing that to you in either August or at first interim. We are still in a declining enrollment pattern. Our certificated positions and classified hours were adjusted to align with current enrollment. As I noted, we did get some relief from the state in STRS and PERS of about 1% to 1.5% in what the district has to contribute. We are continuing to maintain our facilities in good repair. And again, we need to watch our reserves so that we can manage our cash flow and minimize any changes to programs. So that is the information I have to bring to you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
We'll start again with Mike.
No, I asked my questions in line. Thank you, and I hope that was okay.
Brandon.
No questions. Thank you, Lynn.
Tim.
Good job, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly.
Thanks, Lynn. You always just do such a great job making it where everybody can understand it. So thanks so much.
Welcome.
Hey, Lynn, a couple of things. I think they're more a statement of fact than anything. I think your assumptions assume, imagine that the charter revenue that is currently at the level it is will carry forward for the next few years.
That is correct.
Okay. We know that there is the likelihood that there will be cost recovery only,
Correct.
which would mean that revenue off of those charters will be non-existent.
That's entirely possible.
Revenue per se. We know that if we're in the charter business, oversight business, and they were to also simultaneously put a cap on how much you could charge, say it's 1%, and the district found itself expending 1.3%, that would come at the impingement upon the general fund. I think that's a fair assumption.
Correct.
And I think also it's a fair assumption to say that there are people that are actively seeking to recompense funds, what they consider overpayment of actual oversight costs in the past, and the only source of that would be the district's reserve.
That's correct.
So in the end, what I'm saying is that if all those models came true tomorrow morning, the district would be in, let's say, a less than favorable financial position immediately.
That's a fact.
Thank you. I'm done. I'll close this session, I'll close this budget hearing at 10:04. Do I have a motion to close the budget hearing at 10:04?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll second this, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon. Now, we will move on to approval of the same budget. Can I have a motion to move this in, please?
So moved. Kelly.
Is there any discussion other than what we've just heard? Hearing none, I will say that, Lynn, you do a fine job. Your conservative approach to how the district is financed, your management of the facilities, all those types of things is exemplary. It is one of these positions where you don't have to nod your head yes. I like that though. At the end of the day, I commend you, and especially with the hand you're dealt, sometimes you do a wonderful job. Thank you. So,
thank you for the feedback.
Do I have a, let's call this the question. Do we want to approve Lynn's budget?
If call the question, Mike, aye.
This is Brandon, aye.
Kelly, aye.
And board 4-0, president, aye, 5-0. Thank you for your good work, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Moving on to G, Education Protection Account, EPA Spending Plan 2020, 21. Do I have a motion?
This is Brandon, I'll make the motion.
This is Kelly. I'll second.
Larry?
Just in general, this is designed to offset the LCFF formula. If the board has other questions or need for further clarification, Ms. David is here.
Board?
I have no question.
Thank you.
I have no question.
Hearing no questions, call the question.
Mike, aye.
Brandon, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Board 4-0, president, aye, 5-0. Thank you, Lynn. Moving on to item 12, future agenda items. And I'm showing on that list to be career development. I heard a reference in Lynn's presentation about a health curriculum coming up this year. Tim, did you have something you want to say about future agenda item here?
I just was referencing not curriculum, but updating the text, and she said that there was money available for new textbooks for health.
Okay. I'll want to hear from, it doesn't have to be formally, but that there's not some purchasing program and bidding you have to go through, but, okay, so I think we all know that it's very important to our fellow board member who used to be the coach and health teacher here at the school that our teacher is given the appropriate curriculum materials. Perfect. The calendar, short of a special meeting for one thing or another, appears to be August 13th and August 27th.
Yeah, depending on negotiations, we might ask the board if we can do a special board meeting, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay. This means my fellow board members get away from me for quite the period of time. Congratulations, people. Is there anything to report out of closed session? Not formally. Wonderful. All right. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Ms. Brandon, I'll make a motion.
Ellie, I'll second.
Call the question.
Ms. Brandon, aye.
Kelly, aye.
Did I hear aye from Mike?
Mike, aye. Sorry, I had a technical difficulty.
4-0 board president, aye. Meeting adjourned at 10:09 p.m. Thank you for your work, board members.